we we come together to talk about. Okay, it's a Techletics initiative where we come together to talk about things that are trending in tech, tips here and there, and we bring experts on the call to come and give us their expert insight on things generally. So on the call today is Moyo, but just before I bring Moyo up, I'm going to just do a little more introduction, and I'll do a little more introduction, and I will hand over the mic to Moyo. All right, so please confirm if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see it.
Right, boss. So yes, let me just quickly give us a brief background, especially maybe for somebody or for people who are joining this call for the first time. Techletics is a technology workforce development and consulting company dedicated to empowering ambitious professionals and businesses with the essential skills and solutions needed to thrive in this ever evolving world of technology. So basically, what we do is we are able to look into the workforce and see wherever there is a gap or there is a deficiency, we're able to come bridge the gap by upskilling or reskilling staff members or reskilling individual professionals to be able to thrive in their career or to be able to thrive in the world of technology. We're also able to provide consulting services to companies, enterprises at large, and startups alike. We're able to provide tech consulting services to them. Right. In the last 3 years thereabouts that the dream of Techletics was conceived, we have trained a combination or a total of about 3,000 fellows across various edtech institutions and corporate settings. Right. So basically, that's the first background about Techletics and what problem are we solving? Or basically, we're solving, we're bridging the skill gap in the tech workspace. Of course, we've all been hearing about the future of work, but yes, there's still a lot of skill gap. The new future of work has been rapidly accelerated by COVID because I mean, post COVID or pre COVID, nobody really thought that artificial intelligence wouldn't be here by 20. It really blew out real well in 2022, and pre-COVID, we didn't think it was going to be this fast, but COVID again accelerated a lot of things, accelerated remote working, accelerated a lot of things in the economy. So here we are, and now we have some skill shortages, deficiency. So Techletics come into play to bridge that gap, right? So again, employers necessarily need to continuously reskill their workforce, and also we see a lot of tech startups emerging, and they are basically trying to have a good understanding of where to go or how to pick up the ropes, and that's what we're doing at Techletics, right? So about Bit and Byte is an engaging and enlightening monthly tech series hosted by seasoned professionals like we have Moyo on the call today. I'll give you backstory to who Moyo is my G from way back. And Moyo, I hope that you allow me to say some stories.
You're free
Right.
to.
I'm free to. Hallelujah. Okay, so the Bits and Bytes series basically delve into the world of technology, it decodes complex concepts, and we basically explore cutting edge trends and offer insight into diverse array of subjects ranging from artificial intelligence, data and analytics, product management, and low-code technology. These are our four pillars that we stand for, that we stand to be known for at Techletics. That is, if you hear Techletics, just know that we are in the middle of these four things: artificial intelligence, data analytics, product management, and low-code technology. Right. So what is our attraction so far? Now, on May 2nd, 2020, I mean, just in the middle of the night, I was doing reports and all of that. I'm not entirely sure I've told the full story. However, it was sometimes in May 2nd, 2020, that I conceived the idea for Techletics, and it started off as a YouTube channel. If you still go back to the old videos on YouTube from 3 years ago, you're still going to find the Rainmaker Online, to be precise. What's the domain name? That same midnight and all of that. So that's how the idea, or that's when Techletics was conceived. But sometimes in 2021, I realized that the name doesn't really fit. So late 2021, officially launched or officially registered as Techlytics. However, February 2022, we launched our courses on LMS platforms and officially in February 25, 2022. So that is where we have come from and where we currently are now. We have a total of 624 new sign-ups, 103 lecture completions, 29 lecture course completion, I beg your pardon, and 108 active students, and a total YouTube subscribers of 264. I would say we have come a long way and we're still growing steadily. Right. So this is me. I think I've talked about myself a lot lately. So I'm an ex-banker and I found myself into this world of technology. Well, some months or years before COVID struck in 2020, like a year before COVID struck in 2020. Right, so that is basically the background, and this is the amazing team that works alongside with me here at Techlytics. I always put a caveat that it's not a woman team, but as luck as God would have it, we are all women currently. All right, so this is Moyo. Moyo and I met when I was working in Access Bank. Access Bank was my first corporate job. And back then in Akure, Moyo was working in ability, right? So we've come a long way, and it's been a very fantastic friend. He's a data scientist and a statistical modeling expert known for his proficiency in programming, mathematics, and data quality frameworks. Let me bust your bubble. While we were both up country, we were in the same unit, the same division, business banking, which meant that we were in sales and marketing. So to tell you that, and then Moyo is another testament of, you can do anything, right? We were both in sales together in Access Bank, and as God would have it, we're here with you, talking tech stuff. And so I'm open. Any question that you have, any confusion, whatsoever that you have that you want to ask Moyo today, know that Moyo has been there. He's done banking, he's done sales also. So he holds a bachelor's degree in mathematics and master's in data science and computational intelligence from Coventry University. He's worked across financial and consulting services verticals, including Access Bank, now Access Corporation, Batuta Avanan, I hope I pronounced that well, and he's currently a senior developer at Software One and a co-founder at Statsmetric. We're going to share this note with you so you can actually also visit statsmetric.ng. It's a data aggregation and analytics platform. Right, now the next voice you will hear would be Moyo's, and Moyo will be all yours. We'll be talking about automation today, how you can leverage artificial intelligence to eliminate redundancy, whether in your business processes as a business person, or to eliminate redundancy in your day-to-day activity as a professional. So yes, Moyo, please take the floor.
Well, let me start by saying thank you very much, Tayo, and the Techlytics team. I'm glad to be here, and thanks for inviting me to speak today. By the way, then you said the next voice you will hear is Moyo's. It sounds so much like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? But yeah, let me share my screen quickly, and then we can proceed.
All right.
Do you see it already?
Yes, I can. You're right.
All right. Yes, so that's me in a nutshell. Once again, thank you, Tayo. Tayo and I have come, way back. It's been a long journey from chasing deposits to writing programs, but it's been a remarkable journey. Today, the topic I want to focus on is about automation. In the next 45 minutes, 30 minutes-ish, we would dive deep into this topic. It's something that I've done over time across my journey in tech. And I'm happy to tell you all about it. And please, if you have any questions as we go on, please note that down. I'm hoping that you have questions, and then after the session, we can review and answer those questions. All right, so I will start with an introduction about what automation is, what AI, I'm sure you've heard it about, millions of times, what AI is, and how we can leverage it. And then, give some examples of reward applications and or whatnot, and also speak particularly about an approach for non-technical people who might find it, not very easy, writing code and stuff. How can they get into this? Yes, so in a very broad sense, automation in itself is, reducing the amount of, human efforts required to complete a task. I mean, that's something that has been around for a very long time. It's not a new concept. It's not something that just started. We've always automated processes. So human beings, I mean, it's one of our crafts, right? We've engineered ways in which we could reduce the amount of work required to do a particular set of tasks. But that's something that we always improve upon. It's not something you do once and just leave it there. You always have to continuously improve. And, automation is at the heart of innovation generally in the world that we see today. But we can even do much, much better, right? And recently with the, advancement in technology and everything that we see today, I mean, AI itself has been sort of like a buzz, a hype. But I'm here to tell you that it's actually much more than a hype. If you look at what it can do for you, if you look at the opportunities that it presents, I think it's worth the hype. And what AI does is that it complements the work of automation, right? And we'll get to see that, in the next slides to see that there is actually an intersection between AI and automation. But yeah, they are here to stay. AI is here to stay. Automation is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. And the more or the earlier we get into it, if we are not already into it, the better it is for us as people, and also as organizations, as employees. It aids our efficiency basically, and it's something that I always try to push for when I have the opportunity to do it. And so yes, that's what brought about this whole speech. AI, automation, it's something that we should always think about, and it's something that can also benefit our work as employees or as employers over time. Recently, I was reading this article by Forbes, and they said that because of the advances in technology, there is an estimation that 300 million jobs will be lost. And you can look at that and say, oh wow, that's not good for the economy. But in the next slides that you will see, you will actually understand why some of these things are happening and how AI and automation complements these disadvantages basically. Right now, there is also so many things happening in the field of computer vision. There's natural language processing, which is a whole different ball game. How we process languages used to differ, 10, 15, 20 years ago. How we interpret all these things completely different. And that's because, AI has become relatively well sophisticated in terms of the algorithms behind them. And, how they now process information is even way different. And that's something that, it's an era that we've really not seen before, or we've not been in before. And to be honest, I think it's something that will just even improve over time. And when you think of AI, when you think of automation, one thing that should always be at the back of your mind is that it makes the boat go faster. It makes things more efficient. It makes processes more efficient. If you introduce automation into anything, you realize that the rate at which you get things done even goes up. If you think of a traffic junction, for instance, a road junction that has a traffic light. My dad used to be an engineer. I mean, we used to create traffic lights for road junctions, and the mechanism behind it. I mean, if you are going to replace that with a manual process, you probably have somebody from the road force stand there in the junction and try to direct people and say, oh, you go here, you do this. But if you think of that and how much work it would entail, not just for the human being who is doing it, but also over a long period of time, you realize that it's not really efficient, right? But when you introduce automation into it, imagine how much you could achieve by reducing the amount of human effort required to complete that task, for instance. And so you just plant in a traffic signal there, and it does the job for you. It tells you when to stop, it tells you when to go, it does everything, right? And it's so much better for the society. And so those are the things that you can enjoy, I would say, when you think of AI, when you think of automation. And it's a pretty big concept, but they are not necessarily the same thing, but they sort of like complement each other. And that brings me to the next slide, because there's really actually an intersection between AI and automation. Automation in itself is not very intelligent, right? You have to tell it what to do, and then it does it. It does it really well, right? But then you can even introduce, artificial intelligence into automating that task, which means that you have a set of, let's assume that you have a set of machines, or let's use an assembly line, right? You want to create cars. If you want to create just one car, you probably, bring in 3, 4, 5 different engineers together, mechanical engineers, and then they put this car together, right? But if you want to do it at scale, you need an assembly, right? You need an assembly of machinery to be able to produce more cars. Now, you could do the assembly in such a way that you still have your engineers, you still have a couple of automation, frameworks here and there, and then it puts this car together. Or you could actually train machines that understand the process of building a car, and then they could do this for you, right? And so you have that intersection where there is automation, there is artificial intelligence, which, by the way, is built up on data. If you think of how human beings evolve from a child to an adult, you have a baby. I have a 2-year-old daughter, and every now and then I just look at her and how she evolves over time, and it's very funny, right? They learn everything from birth. Even when we gave birth to her, she already started learning, trying to adapt to the environment that she's in. And that's one thing that we do as human beings, right? We learn from what we see, we learn from what we hear, we learn from what's, from audio, we learn from the media, we learn from everything around us. And we try to use that to adapt and conform into the society that we are placed in. And that's also the way that, artificial intelligence is built up. It's built up on data, which, by the way, is from us. And it uses that data to understand how processes and how tasks should be done. And then when you introduce that into, an assembly of machines, then they, perform a set of tasks based on what you've already told them. And so it's very interesting, right? Because they do not just happen. They happen based on data and based on, what we've fed into them. And that's why it's also, there's the ethical side of, artificial intelligence, which I'm not going to dive into today, but there's an ethical side of it. And if you feed it, wrong information, you will also get, scary outputs. But that's another story for another day. But what I'm trying to say here is that there is a huge, intersection between artificial intelligence and automation. And when you bring those two together, that's when you really enjoy, the power of it and what it can do for you. The two of them on their own might not be as, interesting as they can be. But when you have artificial intelligence come into automation, then you have what we call an intelligent, automation. And then that's where the superpower is. That's where the wow experiences are. And you just see some things and you're like, how did this even happen? But yeah, bring it together, those two powerhouses. It's like, when they say power couple, right? You have the super husband and you have the super wife, and then they come together to even create a very super, empire, basically. And that's what artificial intelligence and automation can do for you when they come together. Next slide. So you might be wondering, okay, yeah, there is this, AI and automation. What exactly can it do for me? What exactly, how can I use this? What is the benefit of it? The first thing I will say is that with automation comes opportunities. And the funny thing is, I will show you in the next slide, but when people talk about automation, they think of, oh, my job is gone, a robot is going to replace what I do now and stuff like that. But actually, automation and AI have brought about more jobs, even though it also brings about the loss of some jobs, right? So you do things over time, you realize that this can become, a task that can be automated. And rather than you just sitting there and doing it, why don't you, create a program that does it for you? And then you spend your time doing more important things, right? And so this data that I'm showing you here is from Statista. And it was very interesting because when there was this outcry of, the advent of technology and what, how many jobs have been lost and stuff like that, actually, right now, we have more jobs being created by AI and automation in the last few years. And if you think of, data scientists, you think of data engineers, you think of pipeline developers, you think of, there's so many fields that have been created based on this, right? And the more the algorithms and the programs get more sophisticated, the more people we need. We're going to need people to do these things. We're going to need skill sets to be able to even make it better. We're going to need skill sets to maintain it. You can't just, for instance, take a bank that does, maybe there is a fraud detection model that is built to be able to detect fraud so that, they can safeguard their customers. That's an example. The reality is you can have the program, it does the job, it detects all those things, but to be able to maintain it, you need the skill set to do it. You need people who actually understand how it works, who understand the limitations of it and also the potentials of it, to be able to say that, let's do it this way, let's manage it this way. Because on the flip side, there are also people who are trying to take advantage of the system. And if you don't really understand it, you can't make it better, right? So there is a whole new world that is being created and carved out based on the advances in technology. And one thing here has done for us is that it has even created more opportunities for people. And rather than look at the negatives of it, there will always be negatives about so many things. I mean, even if you think of the simplest things in the world, there is a negative side to it. But rather than think about the negative, sides to artificial intelligence, why not think about the positives and what it can actually do for you? One other thing, benefit of this is that it makes it easy for us to create digital products, right? Right now in the world today, there are so many, there was an article I read that said the amount of data that has been created in the last 5-10 years is probably 1 million times more than what we created in the last 20 years. And that will only keep tripling, right? Because there is now ease in creating digital products, which means it's easy for you to fire up a web application that does something. And when you create an application, you are generating data because people are going to sign up. They're going to create an event. They're going to do something on it. And then they're going to have sort of like a timeline on that application that you can save into your database and understand how they interact with it. And then you use that to build a model to even help them, if it's an e-commerce website, for instance, you want to understand how people shop on your website. You want to know what people are buying. They create all these tracks that you then use to build a customer base, a model that understands your customer even better. And so when there is a new application being built, when there is a new website that is being developed, what you typically know at the end of that is that more data is actually being created. And when there's more data being created, it means that it's easy for you to then tap into this and even use it to understand ourselves even more and provide opportunities for people, help people understand their lifestyles even better, and then not take advantage of it, but use it as a stepping stone in creating services that people really want. And like I said there, it also brings information right at your fingertips, right? When there's automation, it's easy for you to create things. When there is ease in innovation and creation, it makes information available to people. I mean, when I grew up, I got my first mobile phone, if I remember correctly, at the university. I think I was in my second year in the university. These days, people probably get mobile phones when they are maybe 10 or something like that. Your kids probably already have mobile phones already. But I got my first mobile phone when I was way into the university. And the amount of information that I got at that time is completely different from the amount of information that is available to me now. And why is that so? It's because of the ease of these devices that we use. And these devices, if you think of it, they are all built on automation. They are all built on artificial intelligence. And so these advances in technology, they also provide information for us, information that we should use, to improve our lives and improve our skills. And, when I think of how well these improvements have come, I just think of what I can do now. I mean, I used to tell most people that every answer you're looking for is right on Google. Just do a Google search. Start from there. I want to find out how to, transition between, being a marketer into going to data analysis. Go on Google, look for resources. Somebody somewhere has already searched for that information. Somebody somewhere has already written about it. It's almost like a flood of information out there on the internet. And so the ease about, moving around and doing things for yourself even becomes much easier. And that's why you have to also tread carefully, because you can get swayed and carried away by the overflow of information. But they are right there. They are right at your fingertips. And this is because of the advances that we've currently seen in automation and artificial intelligence. So to the challenge of redundancy, right? It's not something that has just begun. It's something that has always been there. Unfortunately, because of how technology has evolved, there's also been, an increase in the amount of tasks and jobs that are no longer needed, because now we can basically automate it. We can write code that does exactly what you're doing at work. And so people often wonder, oh, so how then does this help me, right? The reality is automation, of course, creates or eliminates some jobs like I showed in the last slide. But at the same time, to combat that, you actually need to use more automation. So if you think of, I can give an example, right? My very first job as a data scientist, I remember very well, it was a mid-sized insurance company. And I was the very first data scientist there, and they needed somebody to basically help them automate day-to-day work. And so what I was doing there, funny enough, was that I was going from department to department. So I go to the pricing department and I ask them, I sit with them, look at what they do, understand how they currently do their process. So somebody goes on the website, looks at the price of, they call them aggregator websites. So you can see if you're selling insurance, you can see what 5, 6, 7, 8 insurance companies are offering. And then based on that, they come up with a price for the product. And then they publish the price and see if, it's something that is useful in the market or not. And so I'll go to all these departments, look at the processes, and understand how AI and artificial intelligence can come in. And then I create some sort of model, which I actually did for the pricing team, to be able to automatically create a model that does the pricing for them. So we started by creating a bot that collects all this information and then analyzes it. And then based on that information, we suggest a price to the pricing officer. And if you think of how much more work that could have been for them, and thinking of, how much work it has saved them, and more importantly, they can now concentrate on more important things. You can then say, rather than doing all these, tedious and redundant things, I can focus on the things that are, actually important for me and important for the company as well. And it's something that should, we should always think about it, right? Because it's one way to eliminate redundancy. Basically, when there is automation, it gives you an opportunity to be able to look around yourself and look around, what are you currently doing at work? What is that monotonous task that I'm always doing every day? And it's not just a problem for we as individuals. It's also a problem for the company at large, because now they have so many jobs that are no longer needed. And then people are grumbling. And then you have a whole HR team, scrambling and say, oh, people are leaving, or people are not happy, employees are not happy. And there's just shambles everywhere. But really, if you look around you, identify what you currently do. What is this thing that I do that I can automate? What is this thing that I do every day that I can write a program to do it for me? What is this task that is sapping so much of my energy, but not really giving me significant value? Because it also happens like that. It's like the 80-20 principle, right? Sometimes you can spend 20% of your time on something and generate 80% of the value. And on the flip side, you could spend 80% of your time on something and you only generate 20% value. So you have to find those things. You have to look around you and identify those tasks that take so much of your time, which are very repetitive. You do it literally every day or every week or something like that. And think of ways in which you can leverage the advances in technology for an improvement. Process optimization is another big one. Organizational wise, you look for areas like they did in that company. They look for, brought in somebody who had a skill set, looked at the different departments to understand what are the areas where we can be more efficient. And then you try to solve all those problems. And when you do that, you realize that, first of all, you get more productive as an organization. More importantly, you also get more productive as a person, because your employees can then focus on things that are more important rather than all these redundancies. The reality is, for us to get to that stage, we also have to invest in the required skills and the technology required for automation and artificial intelligence. It's not a walk in the park, I would say, but it's something that if you think about it, if you champion it properly, you can always find a way around it, right? And that brings me to the next slide, which is basically looking at the cost benefit of automation. I was looking for a graph to depict what I wanted to explain here. So I got this one from testing, software testing, and it sort of like captures the essence of this slide as well. Now, in software testing, just a quick background is that you have, a set of developers, right? They create all these beautiful programs, but then you also need a set of testers that validates that this program that your developers have created are doing exactly what you want them to do in the way that they should do it, right? So there are two ways to do it. You could have manual people test it, or you could write automated test that does the same job that a tester would do. Now, the difference between them is, if you look at this graph carefully, you realize that when you start out, right, there is sort of like an ease for manual testing. You can easily find, employees, get people on board, explain what the program does, and just, get them to start doing it. But what you will realize that over time, you have to maintain that. You have to maintain those employees. And so your costs as an organization, for instance, would not go down, right? It would literally keep rising, because the more programs you then create, the more testers you're going to need, right? And it doesn't really sit well for an organization to have an increasing amount of cost for a process that can be automated. Now, what automated testing will do in this regard is that you have to spend more time, probably more money, to get it working at the start. And that's why here I say it's a tough start, fine finish, because it's expensive. In some cases, it's not very cheap. Sometimes it's a lot of hours that you have to put into it to do the groundwork. But you realize that once the groundwork has been done, over time, you get the benefit of it, because you don't have to spend more money or spend more time trying to maintain it. A code that you write now will do the same thing over and over again, 1,000,000 times, 10 billion times. There are programs that have been around for God knows how many years. They don't break. They just keep doing the same thing. And that's the beauty of automation, right? You just do it and you leave it, and it keeps doing the same thing over time. Of course, you can go there once in a while to update the logic if you need to, but in reality, it does exactly what you've told it to do. And that's the thing about automation, right? And that's the cost benefit that you always have to put into account when you're thinking about how can I, bring in automation into my day-to-day life. How much time do I need to spend to identify this redundant tasks? And how much time do I have to spend to create a process that automates it for me? It is, I would not say difficult, but you have to, think about it. You have to carefully try to put the process together, but definitely over time, it's a more beneficial reward compared to, not deploying automation in your task or in your organization, as the case may be. So, we've talked about what these, benefits are. We've talked about what automation is, but how exactly does it look like in the real sense of it? What exactly would be an ideal, application of automation and artificial intelligence? And we have so many of those examples at StatsMetrics NG. One thing that we do very well is that we're able to aggregate information and create automated analysis for them. And an example that I'll quickly give is that, at the start, we were trying to find out what is that central place that I can go to find information? How can I, collect information centrally about a topic or a sector, for instance, and have it in one central place? And I know that if I'm looking for anything about transportation in Nigeria, I can go somewhere and find all the information I need. If I need to find anything about healthcare in Nigeria, I can go somewhere and pull out all the data I need. Getting the information in itself, or seeing the information, is not really the automation part of this, but having to be able to collect that information without using a lot of manual effort is the beauty of it. And so we write a lot of programs that create bots that goes to different sources and pull all this information together. And that's just one use case, right? You can think of, oh, I want to create a set of maybe social media posts on a regular basis. Say you have some sort of e-commerce website and you need to engage your customers or engage your users, and you want to there are certain things that you want to tell them every day or every week. You don't need to get somebody to do it for you. You can, if you are not a technical person, which not everybody are, and I have another slide that actually, talks about how to approach it as a non-technical person. You could, but if you're a technical person, why not put together a program that does, that job for you? It's possible. I mean, one thing I usually tell my guys at Start Metrics is that just think about anything. Just assume, first of all, assume that everything is possible, and then we can find out ways, to either achieve it or to either debunk it, which in most cases, you really cannot debunk it because code is very versatile. It gives us so much power in terms of what we can build as a people and also as an organization. And so you just have to think of what are the things that I currently do, or what are the things that I want to achieve in my business, and how can AI come into play? Another use case, which is getting increasingly popular, is customer support and chatbots. Many years ago, for customer support, you probably need 5-10 people, depending on the size of your company and what you sell, to manage calls from your customers who have a complaint or who have something to talk about, and then you have to manage people to do all of this for you. Right now, you have bots that have been created. I mean, if you think of how much effort has gone into the logic and the algorithms required to make these bots much more sophisticated than they used to be. Now you can ask them anything. You can train your bots on your content. So say you have an e-commerce website, for instance, you can train that bot specifically on the content of your website so that it understands your own market. And when you have a customer who then has a query to, to inquire about, and then they come there, they ask the bot. The bot knows exactly what it is that the customer bought. It knows a lot about that product that you sell, and it can give the customer an informed decision about, the query that they have. And that's how much power that, AI and automation can do for you without having to require human effort. Another thing that we do have, let me just drag this a bit down so you can see, or just hide it actually. Yeah, is that you can summarize articles, summarize news. This is one that I did personally for myself because I like to read, but I don't read as much as I think I should be doing, to be very honest. But I know that information is power. And so even though I don't really like reading, I try to find information, because when you have it, when you know it, it gives you, leverage in so many things. But the reality is I have a career path, and I might spend 2 hours reading about information about data science because it's something that I do and I love and I want to improve on, than spend 2 hours, reading information about just entertainment, right? But at the same time, I know that programming, data science is applicable in virtually every field. And so I still take interest in so many things, but I might not have as much time to spend on those things. And so what I do is I've created this bot that summarizes news articles from identified sources. And if it's going to be entertainment or a little bit about sports and stuff like that, rather than send me the entire article, I just want to see the most important thing there. And so basically it's 5-6 lines. That is really the core of the whole article. Whilst I respect journalists and the effort that they put into, pushing out a very detailed article, I don't really need to read everything. I don't really want to read everything, especially because it's not a field that I'm particularly interested in. And so I created a bot that just summarizes the whole article for me in a few lines, and then I can consume that easily. And during my spare time, I can pick up my phone and just flip through some of these things and read about it, and I already know what's going on. And that's how easy it is for us to automate things and bring information to ourselves. And that's just another use case. But trust me, there are thousands of use cases. There are thousands of ways in which you could leverage AI and automation in your work, in your day-to-day life. You might think of yourself, oh, I'm just an employee, why should I be bothered about this? But the reality is there are things that I wish I knew 10 years ago when I yeah, I think my career now has been more than 10 years, but there are things I wish I knew a lot of years ago when I started out that I know now. And of course, don't be too hard on yourself, because you can't know everything at once, right? Some things have evolved over time, and also as a people, we've evolved over time. The kind of things we take interest in also evolves over time. But really, right now, especially in this age, this year, and the years to come, information is so easy to get. And the more you have it, the more you're able to use it, the easier it is for you to also, propel yourself in the path that you want to go. And so if you're a business person or you're a business owner and you're thinking of how can I, leverage this, how can I use this to improve my business? Once you already know, look around you, look at what are the complaints your customers are having. What are the things that are slowing down your business? What are the issues you're having at work? These are things that you can just think about. And once you identify those, you can just literally go online and find, how can I do this in a automated way? Or what tool can I deploy to help me achieve a particular, set of tasks, for instance. And then you begin to narrow down the problem until you're able to find a solution to it. But trust me, there is a solution for, especially one related to automation and AI, for literally most businesses that we have around today. All right, so this one I want to come to it because I think it's an interesting thing. When I say non-technical people, I mean people who necessarily do not write code. I think everything is technical. You could be a writer. You could just write novels and stuff. You can say, oh, I'm just a writer. It's not really a technical field. It's still a technical field. That's something that I struggle with. As much as I write code and do all of that, I struggle with writing. And so if you're able to do that easily, I think you're a technical person in regards to writing. But here, people who do not necessarily write code. And the reason why this is important is because you might feel you're a bit left out, but you're not, right? The most important thing is for you to stay up to date. Even though you do not write code, know what's going on around you. Know that there is a ChatGPT, know that there is a Bing AI, know that there is a Midjourney AI there. Some of the pictures that I used in these slides, for instance, I created them from Midjourney, and it's a very interesting platform, like so many other platforms, right, that leverages AI to help people be creative. And so know that these things exist. And once you know that they exist, once you know what they do, it makes it easier for you to be able to know how to, deploy them or use them in your business or in your organization. And, sometimes you find out that there are so many options. Usually there are always so many options. And then you have to do some sort of research to be able to figure out which one really works for me, which one, which one am I able to get the best value in? Because really not everything will give you the kind of results you want. Sometimes you also have to weigh the cost benefit of that particular tool that you're trying to use. So if you say, for instance, you are, into writing, let's just use writing as an example. If you look at how we used to write 10 years, 20 years ago, when you write, you have to proofread what you've written, right? So say you have a set of publishers that look through your content, and then they, go through it, and then they tell you if this is good enough. They look at your grammar errors and things like that, and they try to fix it for you. Those things have to be done. But now you don't have to do it, manually anymore. There is Grammarly, I think, which can help you, get your sort out your grammar in your writing. And there's so many other tools there. You can summarize your text. You can do all sorts just at the comfort of your home. And so once you know that these things exist, knowing how to use them even becomes much easier because you are an expert in your own field. You're an expert in what you know. And how you can make it better is also something that you know. But when you then, checkmate that against the options and tools that are out there that can help you make that boat go faster, then it's easy for you to implement and achieve, a lot more than you'll have done without deploying these tools. So for non-technical people, people who don't write code, I'll repeat that again. Everybody's a technical person. Always know that there is a tool out there that can help you, make your work even faster. And it's literally just, a Google search away. But if you don't know about it, it becomes even trickier. And so the important thing here is that you have to stay up to date, know what's going on around you. Don't just say, oh, I'm not into technology. I try to know what's going on in entertainment. I try to know what's going on in sports. I try to know what is going on in healthcare, because I know that even though I write programs in data science, even though I do statistical modeling, I also know that this particular field is something that can be useful around me in different sectors. And that's something that you always have to put at the back of your mind. So whatever niche it is that you are into, always be interested in other things, because automation and AI can always make things go faster for you at your place of work. So yes, that's all about what I have to share today. Just to wrap it up before I begin to take questions, I would say that if you think about, how much effort you would need to put into things, and how much effort you could try to use to complete a certain, amount of tasks here and there, you will also realize that if you spend some time doing some research and trying to find out information about how you can make that thing even better, there is always something out there. There is always something out there that can help you. And whether that particular tool is ideal for you is then left to you to decide, right? You do your analysis, you do the cost benefits. Should I do a subscription for this tool if I cannot build it myself? And if I do that subscription, do I get value for using that particular tool? But this is something that should always, always champion it within yourself, to know that automation should be at the heart of everything you do, because it makes your process, it makes your work, it makes you as a person even more efficient. And so that's something that if you have it at the back of your mind, it's also a benefit that you will reap later on. And yeah, I want to cap it there. I don't know if I've been talking for a long time. It feels like nobody's even listening, but I know you guys are there. And yeah, if you have any questions, I think this would be the nice time to ask.
All right, thank you, Moyo. That was funny, though. Don't worry. A lot of people are listening. People were giving you claps and all of that. But I'm sure because we were sharing your screen, you couldn't see that. They're giving you thumbs up, agreeing with you. Me, myself, I was just smiling from here to here. All right. All right. Thank you so much. That has been very insightful. So do we have any questions in the house? May I have questions? But let me first, as the host, let me first ask people if they have questions. You can raise your hand, you can unmute your mic, and let's quickly take your questions, if there are any. Or you can put it in the chat room. Right. While we're waiting for people to ask their questions, so I have some questions myself. Now, so as a person, for me, I'm a product manager. Usually I like to primarily call myself a product manager, but I know I'm multi-skilled. And so I'm just saying, I have a non-technical background. I really don't know how to code, maybe not so much. I'm just wondering, now that I see that artificial intelligence can help me a lot, at least, if nothing, in fact, we even have them in these meetings. We can see some note takers that are on this call that would, basically help people record the meetings with the recording of the meeting. They can listen to it, you can give them summary. We've seen all of that, right? Yeah. So if I'm to stay more relevant in my field, what aspect, if it has occurred to you, what aspect of product management would I necessarily apply, artificial intelligence or automation to? I just want you to help me shed more light. Let's say I'm a newbie product manager just coming into the industry. How can artificial intelligence help my life?
Well, that's a very interesting question. I think project management entails, so many other things apart from just dealing with the product itself. I'm not an expert on project management, but I know that
product. I talked about products.
Yes, product management, right? Not projects.
Not projects.
Yes. So for product management, when you think of how you can, leverage AI or leverage artificial intelligence to make, your work go better, the first thing you have to realize is, as a product manager, you are sort of like in charge of a particular product. If you already know the product in and out, you know what exactly you need to get that product to where you want it to be, right? And that makes it much easier for you to then say, Okay, so this is the roadmap for what, 6 months, 1 year. These are the things that we want to achieve for this product. What are the things that AI already knows about similar products? Because the reality is you could have a very fantastic product, which is super innovative, but everything rides on the shoulder of something else. So there has been, thousands of other products that have, created the blueprint for the product that you're currently working on. What do you understand about those products already? And you might not necessarily have that information, but that's something that AI already does. Why? Because it has been trained on so much amount of data, and those data come from some of those products that have given birth to the product you're working on. And so being able to channel all those, I would say, questions or ideas that you already probably have or even don't have into a bot, for instance, that already knows about the type of product you're working on, it can then suggest to you a sort of like roadmap and tells you that, you know what, I know this is what you're creating, right? But if you apply this and this to this product, because I've already seen it before, it can give you this results. And so you, first of all, understanding the fact that what you are creating rides on the shoulder of other things. And those other things, because as humans, we don't know everything, right? But we have, we've been able to create this intelligence that has been fed with so much amount of data. We can then use it to, first of all, get ideas on things that are similar to what we are creating. And I think as a product manager, that's something that you're probably also interested in, right? You want to know, what can I do, or how can I do this in such a way that it will give me this value? Another thing you want to probably do with your product is, usually there's always like, you want to test the market. You want to understand how, say, a feature introduced into a particular product would, how users will react to that particular feature that you've introduced into it. You want to do A/B testing. Now, funny enough, all of these things are things that AI can do for you. You just have to tell it the features you want, and it gives you the results, right? You don't have to be the one to do it yourself. So these are some of the aspects in which you can leverage automation and AI to get results, right? Because one thing you must always understand is, first of all, it knows much more than we do, unfortunately. Second thing is, because it knows much more than we do, it can give us a path. It might not be what you're looking for, but it can help guide you in a particular way that you should go. And like I also said, when you actually want to do like an experiment, for instance, you want to introduce a feature, you want to get a result, how can you do all those things? You can leverage AI on it. It can read the market for you and then tell you that, you put in this here, you put in that here, you will get this at the end of the day. And as for you as a product manager, that gives you an informed decision, right? Because that's what you really need. That's what you really want. I mean, you're not the one developing the product, but you can make an informed decision about the features of the product that can even make it even better, right? And so I think that's one way in which you can leverage AI or automation to make things work faster for you as a product manager. Make sense?
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much. I wanted to use that to open the room, and I'm happy you really delved into it, right? I didn't see that part coming of, when you can do competition analysis for you. I mean, because some maybe majority of innovations that we have today, something already existed. So it's just that we're just repackaging and probably improving on one or two things. So artificial intelligence can basically give you an idea of what your competitors are doing and what you should improve to be able to survive or to thrive in the market. Thank you so much. I have two other questions in the room.
Okay.
Let me quickly read it. Temilolua says, what low-code or no-code platforms would you recommend for basic daily task automation, such as keyword search or filtering from an entry-level perspective?
I am not a no-code champion. I am very heavily on code. I'm not exactly sure, I'll be very honest, but I think you're a Google search away, to be clear. Like I said, everything you're looking for is on the other side of Google search. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure of no-code platforms that you could use. Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't help you on this one. But I'm sure if you do a Google search, you'll probably find some answers where you can, get help on.
I could help with that bit. What low-code, no-code platform would you recommend for basic such as keyword search, filtering. I may not understand the exact things around keyword search or filtering, but there are tons of local platforms. You can check out Bubble. Bubble, basically, if you want to probably, build an application. Zapier is also a local tool, but basically that one automates tasks for you. Automates tasks in the sense that, let's say, you have like 3 or 4 different platforms before you can achieve a particular goal. So I'm a product manager. In the cases where I've used Zapier to automate, Zapier is a low-code tool. Where I've used Zapier to automate is the situation where there is something going on in my product analytics. So let's say like a Hotjar or a Google Analytics, and maybe there's a problem, and I can basically define the rule that to say, oh, when people are clicking a particular button on my products more than 5 times, pick that as a rage click. That is, pick it at that person, that user is hungry. That's what I mean by rage click. So pick that as a rage click. And once you detect it's a rage click, automate it and create an automatic ticket for me on Jira and assign it to this particular person. So you can imagine, instead of me having to open like 3 different apps to understand what's going on, I've told just one low-code or no-code tool to say, once you see that somebody is clicking this button 20 times, pick it, automatically create a ticket, assign a ticket to this person, or put an SLA within 24 hours, remind this person again that they've not fixed it or something, right? And that basically takes away redundancy. Something I could have probably just come every morning between 7 and 8 and be looking at, okay, let me look at this product today. Hey, what happened here? Hey, somebody, then I will now say, hey, Alaye, go and do this thing, and I'll be calling people. Why can't I not just use something to automate that entire process, right? There are other tools. Off the top of my head, I've talked about Zapier, I've talked about Bubble. Bubble is basically if you want to build apps anyway. So I may not entirely remember a whole lot, but I know there are quite a lot. There are even so from an entry level perspective, yes, there are a lot of tools that you just need to understand the logic and give it the role to say rule 1. This, then give it the logic to say, if it then happens this way, go this way. If it does not, it's just like if you see Coke and Fanta, buy Coke. If you don't see Coke, buy Fanta. And you can easily, create the pathway for it to go through that way. Temilolu, have I attempted to answer your question?
Yes, you have. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to Adora. Adora says, you talked about, and this is to you, Moyo. Yeah. Adora said, you talked about creating a bot for automation, and I have a group of people that I manually source for remote job adverts for various roles applicable to them on a daily basis. Can I create a bot to automate this process, and how can I create the bot? I don't understand the question very well, but I guess Adora is saying that she manually sources for people for remote job adverts for various roles applicable to them on a daily basis. Do you get a question?
I totally get it. So right now, if you are a technical person, I think it's relatively easy, and it's also something that we actually do at Statmetrics. So we have, several set of, metrics, I will call them. So you're looking for data about Nigeria, for instance. You want to understand what's going on in a particular sector. We have bots that actually collect this information from different sources. How can you write them? So basically right now we use Python, which is a very popular programming language. And then you use what we call a Selenium, which is it's not really a software, but it's a third-party package that understands web elements. And so because it understands web elements, you can program it to find out exactly a particular element. So let's use this screen, for instance. So right now, this is Google Meet. You can write, a code that would actually fire up google.com, for instance. Once it fires up the website, you can then program it to search for specific web elements, and then you can interact with it. There's a whole new ball game going on there because there's an element of JavaScript involved. There's an element of HTML and CSS and all of these things. But the core of it is that you can replicate what a user would do on the website by a bot. And you can create this with Python or any other programming language. And then you collect all the information. You tell it that when you see a name called Tayo Winkule on your screen, click on it. It will click on it. and collect the information, save it to a database. And that's something that we do every day. There's also some data that we collect from the CBN, especially official exchange rates that we collect every day. So CBN releases the information on cbn.gov. And so we created a bot that goes to the website, downloads the information to our database, and then we share this information on Twitter automatically and also share it on our website. And so for you to be able to do that, you must be able to write code, right? But again, like I said, if you're not a technical person, it doesn't mean you can't still achieve it. There are so many softwares out there that helps you to do what they call web scraping, which is exactly what we've just talked about. And it creates all of this, you tell it what you want, you give it the URL, which is the website you want it to go to. It will go in there, tell it what you want it to collect, and it will collect the information, and you give it the location for you to store that information in. And it will also do that for you. So it's very possible. We've done it over time. It's not even a new technology. It's been around for so many years. And one thing I will also mention is there is also the ethical aspect of it. So I remember when I was in the UK, I was working with a company where we were trying to get information from a particular website, and they told us categorically that they didn't want us to do that because for their website, when we create bots that crawl the website, it slows down the performance of their website, and there was all this going back and forth with it. So I'm assuming what you're trying to collect is relatively public information, and I think with public information, they expect people to go there anyway, so it shouldn't be a problem. But like I said, it's possible. You just have to write, I don't know if you're a technical person, I don't know if you write programs, but if you do, then yeah, Python is a way to go to solve the problem. If you're not a Python person, you could pick another programming language. But yeah, I would say that it's completely possible, and we've done it over time. And you can reach out to me if you have troubles, actually.
All right. Thank you so much. Adora, did that help? Is Adora still in class? Is Adora still, I said in class. Well, yeah, is Adora still here?
You're a teacher.
I'm just a bloody teacher. Adora, are you still here? Whoa, interesting. I'm not entirely sure Adora is in class. Okay, yes, she said thanks. So yes, you can also connect with Moyo after the class. Moyo, did you share that slide that has your contact? I'm not sure I saw that, because on your name, people might not have caught your name. Your name that is showing on Google is saying everything tech. So they don't know who you are. So it'll be great. So at least you can connect with Moyo on LinkedIn. Can connect with him on Twitter. I don't know your best place for people to find you, but
wait, can you see my screen, by the way?
Yeah, I can see your screen now. I can.
Okay. Yeah, so this is Twitter is, I think, I'm always on Instagram as well and Twitter, but yeah, I think I prefer Twitter. And yeah, my LinkedIn is also here. And I think the last of them is WhatsApp. That's like last resort.
I'm not the only one, thank God. I'm the worst person to reach on WhatsApp. All right, thank you so much. I really have enjoyed my session, and I've enjoyed myself. There is one last, I wouldn't entirely say it's a question. Precious is saying, what's the name of that platform? I don't know when you had this question, but I want to believe that it was around the time I was talking about Zapier. If Precious is still on the call, you can clarify your question for me. If it is around Zapier, yes, Zapier is the name of the platform I was talking about. You can connect anything, Google Sheets, Word, anything that you want to automate. If you want the thing to be dropping something for you in Google Sheets and share with somebody, it can do that for you. All right, thank you so much, and thank you everyone for joining the call today. It's been amazing. It's supposed to be a 1-hour session. We're 12 minutes behind. Thank you so much. Adenike dropped a feedback form in the room. Please do fill the feedback form. It helps us to be better and give you, very relevant content from time to time. So thank you so much. In another 2 weeks, we should be able to gather again and bring another expert to come and tell us about fantastic stuff. But please stay glued to Techlytics Instagram page, LinkedIn, Twitter to be abreast of the information. For the class recording, for the session recording, once it is ready, it will be uploaded on YouTube, and also we'll share the link with you to your emails as long as you register for the session. All right, if there are no other questions, I would like to bring the session to a close, and thank you so much everyone for joining. Have a good evening and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you very much, Tayo. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Moyo. Bye, everyone.